Every day we stray further away from crystrons being a synchro deck. So today we're actually playing a synchro crystron deck. Wow, that's crazy, right? Look at the extra deck. There's not a single link monster, not even nightmares, not a single phoenix, not even puzzlomino. It's just all synchros. It's just not any non-synchro monsters in the extra deck. And just by looking at the deck, it's a very normal crystron deck. When you think about a crystron deck, when a normal person thinks about a crystron deck, they probably think about this kind of crystron deck. As you can see, we're not playing any engines, we're not playing any gimmicks in the deck, where there's no onomats, there's no Tenyis, there's no mermails. It's just crystrons with like all the normal crystron stuff. I guess we are playing Weisel, which isn't a crystron. You can search it with the skill which we're playing. No One to Love is a pretty interesting skill. It works really well with crystrons just because crystrons have an in-archetype way of triggering it. It can only be used on your next turn after your monster is destroyed by a card effect. Return a card from your hand to the deck and add a Mechlord Emperor Weisel from your hand from your deck. So basically, when you use Selfwithnear to pop itself, you get a Weisel in your next turn. And Weisel is a spell negate. You probably won't use the synchro absorption effect where you steal your opponent's synchro monster. That's just not very reliable, and not a lot of people are playing synchro monsters. You usually just use it as a 2500 attack monster that has a spell negate, which is usually enough. So this is kind of like a plan B, right? Because it has an effect that prevents all other monsters that you control from attacking, except for itself. So usually what happens is that if your opponent disrupts your mainline combo, and you can't end on any of your synchros, you just summon your Weisel and just use it as your plan B and just try to attack for game. We're also playing Back to the Front, which I don't think a lot of people are playing in Crystrons, but I do think it's a pretty good card in Crystrons. It basically just reborns a monster from a graveyard as a trap. So we already have Crystron Impact to summon banished monsters, but for monsters in the graveyard, usually in pure Crystron builds, you don't have a way to get them back other than using the pop effect of a Metrix, which is not very reliable. So we are playing Back to the Front, and the main thing that we're going to summon with this trap is two things. One is the tuners, because if you use the tuners for a synchro summon, well, obviously they go to the graveyard, but for the non-tuners, you can just banish them to activate their graveyard effects. But the tuners don't have graveyard effects, so they just kind of hang out in the graveyard and rot. So the trap is a way to just grab yourself back the tuners, so you don't run out of tuners, or you can just have more guys on field in your opponent's turn to use the quick effects to make more synchros for your extra deck. And the second thing you can revive is obviously the synchro monsters, because it revives anything, not just low-level monsters. You can revive synchro monsters as long as they don't have a summoning restriction. So let's say you make a Brionac, and it's all good, you clear your opponent's board, but you can't win that turn and then it gets destroyed. Fine, you just activate your trap, bring it back during your opponent's end phase, and even though it is in defense, you can bring it during your opponent's end phase, so during your own turn you can just switch it back to attack, and then you just use its effect again, and you can go for a game. And one thing to note is that the Crystron synchros need to be synchro summoned to be using the on destroy effect. So like Quarian Gandrax and a Metrix needs to be synchro summoned in order to activate their effect when they are destroyed. So you can't just use Back to the Front or Crystron Impact to bring them back and expect them to still have their destroying effect. And for the extra deck, it's a pretty typical synchro Crystron extra deck. One thing that I want to mention is that we're playing two powered Insectrons. I very often use both of them, so it's always nice to have two in the extra deck. So if games go on for a very long time, which often happens because Crystrons is a very slow deck. So we have a way to just stall for 2 turns and basically guarantee that we don't lose. And the Crystron playstyle usually is that if you can't win or if you get disrupted, you just end on a single Ryon, and during your opponent's turn you can use that face-up Ryon to make an Insectron and guarantee that you don't lose, and then during your next turn you can try again. So you just keep doing that until either you lose or your opponent runs out of resources and they can't deal with any of your monsters. Another monster I want to talk about is White Aura Dolphin. This card is really good against some very specific matchups, like Live Twins. Live Twins usually have a really hard time getting rid of this card. The only out they have is Unicorn, but you can just, summon another one because it goes back to the extra deck. So you can just make another one and it's not that hard. It's really easy to summon this card. You just need a level 3 non-tuner and a level 3 tuner. And, all of our starters are level 3 non-tuners, so you just have one of them plus a Ryon and you can immediately make this card. And every time your opponent tries to destroy this card, it just comes back by banishing a water monster from a graveyard. And this is not once per turn, so if your opponent doesn't have a good way of removing it without destroying it, they just can't get rid of this card. So it just single-handedly wins you some games on its own. And also, if your opponent has a big monster, you can just use its main phase effect to just halve its attack, so you can just beat over it with pretty much anything. And Brianna is obviously a very good non-destruction removal. It clears your opponent's entire board, and also Crystrons search a bunch of cards, so you usually have enough cards for you to discard to clear your opponent's entire board. Black Rose is pretty good at just clearing out huge amounts of back row, and you can always threaten Black Rose by having tuners and non-tuners that add up to 7. So as soon as, like, smart players, as soon as they see you have the sufficient materials to go into Black Rose, they will activate their back row before you can even make your Black Rose, so you can still keep your materials on field and still threaten your opponent's back row. Koyon Gandrax and Big Shish is the 2 main boss monsters that get rid of your opponent's stuff. Big Shish doesn't target, which is really good, but Crystron Koyon Gandrax is, first of all, it's a Crystron, so it gets protected by impact in the graveyard, and second of all, it banishes from your opponent's graveyard as well. So if your opponent has a Kiteroid, this is the card to make. Obviously, this deck is not as good as the Link version that I played getting to King of Games. That's why I didn't use this version when I was trying to grind King of Games this season. And this deck does lose to a lot of common disruption, a single Book of Moon or Warning Point, or worst of all, IDP could stop your entire combo, which doesn't really happen in the Link version because you can always summon more extenders to make more nightmares to pop your opponent's back row and monsters. So if you want a more competitive version, you should play the Link version. But the Synchro version is, first of all, it is like the intended playstyle of Crystrons, and second of all, it's really fun. I had a lot of fun playing this deck just casually, because there's so many things you can do with Crystrons that is just a lot of fun just to try to map out the combos that you can do with your starting hand and the stuff with your graveyard. You can experiment with different synchro monsters that you can play, and each synchro monster has different summoning requirements, so you have to think about how you are going to make them with your Crystron monsters. It's just a lot of fun to both experiment with and play. Okay, Howitzer set 1 is manageable. Even more so now that we have 3 copies of Impact. We're gonna send Fistburn. Usually, just as a quick guide on when you should mill Self-Fifth and when you should mill Fistburn, the basic idea is that you need a banished level 3. So if you have a banish level 3, you mill Self-If. If you don't have one, you mill Fistburn. So in this scenario, we don't have one, or we don't have a way to get to one. Because, as you can see, if we summon level 3 from our deck with Self-If, you can't use the second effect because you can only use one of the effects per turn. So, like normally if we didn't mill Fistburn in this scenario, we wouldn't be able to have a banished level 3. So we don't have a target for Ryan. So that's why we milled Fistburn in the very beginning, just so we could have a banished level 3. But if you have a Fistburn or a Smugger in your opening hand, then you could discard the Smugger or Fistburn when you use your Self-If, and that gets you level 3 in your graveyard, and you can use the graveyard effect to banish itself, and now you have a banished level 3. So instead of sending Fistburn, you could just send Self-If with your Scrap Recycler or Genex Undyne. We could have been able to prevent the damage if he did something else first in the main phase, but because that's the first thing he did, we kinda have to take the damage. Because of the effects of the crystron monsters being only able to activate during the main phase, and because turn player has priority, he could activate the effect first before we could tag out into Insectron. And so even though Insectron prevents us from taking any damage, not just battle damage, just like any damage, we still take the 500. We still have to take the 500 from Howitzer even if we turn on the toggle because of turn player priority. Yeah, so controller is still good even if we draw it, because we can do stuff like this. We just like make Trish using the free level 3 tuner. Yeah, he is unaffected, but we can still banish like the other stuff. We can beat over the Howitzer. I know it's unaffected. We could try anyway. It's annoying that he used Crackdown because now it's on my main monster zone and it's clogging up my stuff. We're gonna play this very slowly, as usual, as that's what Crystrons do. It's that we play extremely slowly. So we're just gonna set up for another... We're gonna set up for another Ryan. Because we're playing two... We are playing two Powdered Insectrons. Because I expect that we would play a very long game. Yeah, then he summons a, what? Reactor Dragon? That's fine. Oh, he's making Ultimate Pound. That's interesting. Well, one thing about Ultimate Pound is that it doesn't have the not letting you activate effects in the battle phase effect. So you can still activate any effects you want during the battle phase when it attacks. We're gonna put this in attack and see if he attacks my Insectron. It's always nice to have two Insectrons in your extra deck. Because if you're playing something against like the live twins, they have like a million back row and you have to chew through all of them. And so one Insectron is probably not enough. So I'm playing two. Ancient Year. Anyway, there goes our opponent's Ultimate Pound. And his Golem in the graveyard. And the Howitzer in the graveyard. Bye bye. Hey, watch this. We're gonna... Rosenix give us a token. So we could have a banished monster so we can activate Impact to summon back to Rosenix for lethal. That's the only reason we activated the effect of Rosenix. It is to get a monster for lethal. Oh, it's Crackdown. Okay. The easiest way is to make Brionac. And just bounce back the Crackdown. Say goodbye to your Crackdown, baby! Okay, that's Undyne. Undyne is like a full combo on its own. Okay, so because we drew Fistburn, we don't have to mill Fistburn. We can just send Fistburn to the graveyard using our Sulfef. So like this, we could just pop the Sulfef. And then Smager effect. Get poppin'. Make Ryon. And banish the Fistburn. And grab Citri. Oh. Oh. Why are you playing this card? Why are you playing? It's not even live right now because when he makes a Spirit Dragon, he doesn't have a level 7 or 8 Dragon monster. So now I could just make Inzection and it's not negated. Yeah, okay, we need to find an out to this card somehow. I know it's a skill drain. I could do the one thing that I know to do in these scenarios, which is just make Inzection until problem is solved. But I don't think that is going to work very well in this situation. Hold up. Hold up. I found the out. I found the out. Watch this, watch this. I found the out. I found the out. I could out this entire board and win this game. Assuming that he doesn't have any stupid stuff in hand. I found the win con. Just watch. Watch. Because I've used this card before. I know how it works. So what we do is we summon this, and you could probably guess what we're trying to make here. Yeah, see? See that chain order? See that chain order? It's like skill drain, but it doesn't work if you have an on summon effect that's optional. Because optional effects go after mandatory effects. So they resolve first. So you can still activate on summon effects. Seeing you are playing twins, okay, now that's taking it too far. Okay, but it's pure twins, so it's fine. As long as it's pure twins, we're cooking. We cooking. Oh, he's gonna use it now. I was about to threaten battle and force him to use it, but I guess that works out even better. So even if he wasn't going to pop my Smager, I was just going to end on Smager. I guess he takes like 100 less life points, but is it really worth an entire econ? And wouldn't that be even better if he just used the first effect instead of the second effect. Because if he used the second effect, oh, he's playing Amazement. I hate it. I hate when he's playing Amazement. Okay, now he's gonna have to make a very difficult decision. Is he gonna let me make my Trish? He has to immediately flip it face down, I feel like. Oh wait, he didn't turn on the toggle. He didn't turn on the toggle. He did not turn on the toggle. Now I win. Rookie mistake. Should have turned on the toggle. Now say goodbye to your entire board. Bye bye. Yeah, good try. So like normally you would expect to get rid of all the back row before the monsters, but for live twins, just getting rid of all the monsters will win you the game. And nobody really cares about the back row because the back rows don't do anything. And then we add another Smiker! And then activate Self-F, pitching the Smiker! Summoning Self-F. And then we summon Weisel! And then it's time for another impact! Let's go! More impacts! Okay, we're so winning. Just because our opponent makes a single mistake, which is not turning on their toggle, they're now going to suffer the consequences of not being good at the game. Oh yeah, Dark Hole? Nice try. Nice try. Time ticket is fine. We're just gonna chain Ryan as soon as we can, in case he has another Dark Hole. Yeah, okay. He's losing. He's so losing. Yeah. What are you gonna do with like a single monster that can't even beat her for Trish?